Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Big Iftar. Those of you who've attended our Big Iftars in Parliament before, organised by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims, will know that this isn't our usual format. This isn't the Speaker's house in the House of Commons. Like so many events over the last year, here we are online, but hopefully putting on what will be a fantastic programme for you this evening. I'm Wes Streeting, I'm the Labour MP for Ilford North, and it's been my enormous privilege to co-chair the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims since it was established. And you'll be hearing more from my co-chair, Paul Bristow, a Conservative MP for Peterborough, as well as a number of other cross-party parliamentarians during the course of this evening's event. But to begin, as is appropriate at the Big Iftar, it's my really great pleasure to introduce Amina Sultani, who is going to begin with a recitation from the Holy Quran. Amina is one of the best female Quran reciters in the UK, and a nasheed artist, Sufi singer, postgraduate student. We're delighted to have you with us, Amina. Please begin by offering us a recitation from the Holy Quran.
Thank you. I will be reciting Surah Al-Duha, the morning hour. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث صدق الله العظيم.
Hello everybody, my name's Paul Bristow and I'm the Conservative Member of Parliament for Peterborough, and I'm the co-chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims. Now this is a really special moment for me because this is just about the first thing I've done as the co-chair of the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims. I'm a new MP. I was only elected in December 2019, and was only very recently have I become the chair of the all-party parliamentary group. So this is a very special moment for me and a tremendous honour. Peterborough is a city with 20,000 Muslims, so Ramadan is always a very special time of the year for Peterborough. And we can't meet like we normally would do with our friends, our family, and other members of the community. But this is also an incredibly special event for all of us. And it's my great pleasure to welcome uh, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf Hamza. He is a world-renowned Islamic scholar, author, and the co-founder of the Zaytuna Institute in California. And he's joining us today from Berkeley, California. Now, it's the early hours of the morning in Berkeley, California, so we've got something very, very particular to be thankful to him for. So thank you very much, and over to you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. Alhamdulillah. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me this opportunity. I've had the pleasure of being involved in several things that have been done in England at the House of Parliament, and also I want to thank Baroness Sayeda Warsi. And I don't know if Baroness Udine is there, but she's been a good friend for many years. So thank you, and I hope you have a blessed Iftar. The topic I was asked to speak about was faith and its role in times like these. And I think one of the important things to remember about faith is that faith is for all times. And very often, in fact, the Quran reminds us that people become more faithful in very difficult times, and then when the times of ease come, they tend to fall back in their wayward ways. And I think faith during ease that prepares us for the difficulties in the times of hardship. In other words, when we have a lot of gratitude, when the blessings are there, then we're ready to have the fortitude and the patience for when the difficult times come. So faith is something, it's an intangible, it's something that we all practice to some degree or another. Anybody that has plans for later on in the day or for tomorrow has faith in the unseen, because tomorrow is in the unseen world. It comes into the seen world when it comes, but our plans are based upon faith. So faith is just simply part of human life. There are many people, particularly I think Europe, which in many ways is in a post-faith phase, but it has a great history of faith, and the faith of the European peoples is extraordinary, and particularly England has a great faith tradition, and Great Britain. The Irish were people of immense faith, and I know there's still a lot of faith there, but we're seeing the diminishment of it at a time when we need it most, which is quite tragic. It's very important to remember that faith is not simply belief in something without reason. Faith and reason go hand in hand, and this has always been the tradition of the Abrahamic faith in particular. Faith and reason are two wings that enable us to fly to the heavenly abode. So it's really important that we don't see faith simply as something that's irrational, which is put forward by a lot of the new atheists. This idea somehow that faith is simply a belief in the irrational. I know some of the writers in England have used that trope considerably, but it's simply not true. Many people inherit faith, but those of us who have a faith that is deeply rooted in tradition, standing, come to recognize that faith is actually more reasonable than a lack of faith, and that people that have faith tend to fare much better than people without faith in the world. One of the great writers of your own tradition in England, Emily Bronte, reminds us in a poem that she wrote called No Coward Soul Is Mine. She says, no coward soul is mine, no trembler in the world's storm-troubled sphere. I see heaven's glories shine, and faith shines equal, arming me from fear. She's reminding us that it's faith that really arms us from fear of the world. And God has, those of us who believe in God, we believe sincerely that God has rules for a purpose. One of the things that's really important right now with the current crisis that we have is to recognize that this crisis did not come out of thin air, that we as a species have been abusing this planet considerably. We overconsume, we mine our natural resources in unprecedented aggression, and also we're encroaching on the natural world that is also here for a purpose. When you have people probing bat rectums from caves in China to find out new things about viruses and things like that, I think some of our scientists really have entered into a very bizarre realm. So we have to recognize that we need to really change the ways that we're living. Environmental crises has been around for millennia. Many civilizations actually disappeared because of environmental crises. And the difference between now and in the past is the type of technologies that we have are extraordinarily powerful and enable us to do things that previous peoples were completely unable to do. And so we have an immense responsibility because we're caretakers, we're stewards. This is what the Quran reminds us. We're stewards. And one of the most important things about Ramadan is it's a time to actually disengage. It's a time to recognize that we need to go inward. It's a time when we stop consuming and we set aside our appetites for a higher purpose. And this is something I think that our whole planet really needs to do, is to begin to think about setting aside so many of our appetites for a higher purpose. Because like I said, we are caretakers. There are people that will come after us. There are children alive today that will be our replacements. We're caretakers. And what are we going to leave behind? Because those that preceded us, the good and the ill from among them, they left behind what they have left behind. The Quran reminds us, تِلْكَ أُمَّةٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ لَهَا مَا كَسَبَتْ وَلَكُمْ مَا كَسَبْتُمْ. These civilizations are gone. They have what they earned, and you have what you earned. And you will not be asked about what they were doing. I think we spend too much time harping on the past and the problems of the past. And even though undeniably many of the things that we're dealing with today are a result of the past. I mean, Palestine is a good example of that. But I think it's very important that we really think about the present and about the future. And in conclusion, I would remind the European the descendants of the Europeans that the great virtues of Europe were faith, hope, and charity. And these are Islamic virtues, they're Christian virtues, they're Jewish virtues. Faith is a great virtue. It's what enables us to withstand the storm-tossed tempests that are thrown at us. But we also have to have hope. And hope is not optimism. Hope is much deeper than optimism. And we have to have charity, which is from a beautiful word, caritas, which really means love. And Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, one of our great scholars, said, which Dante echoes later, that the whole universe is moving by an act of love. And so there's a great Greek philosopher who said that the whole world was based on strife and love. And this is the choice that we make. As believers, we choose the path of love, and those who reject faith very often end up on the path of strife. And so we have human family here, but we also have to recognize that to us are happening for a reason. And they're really a wake-up call. It's like the red light that goes on in the car. If you ignore that, the car will stop running. There are a lot of red lights going on in our world today. And if we ignore them, then we have to suffer the consequences of it. So I hope you all have a blessed Ramadan. I want to thank all of you again, and I also very much appreciate the fact that the government in the UK does so much outreach to the Muslim community. I know the Muslim community is an important community. It sometimes is a struggling community, but it's a community that has served the UK. And I know that a lot of the frontline workers that were hit so hard, they were Muslim doctors and nurses and attendants in the hospitals. And they were doing what their religion commands them to be the best community that they can be for all of humanity and not simply for themselves. And always those who practice a true form of Islam are not just for themselves, but for the common weal, for the common good, and are people of goodwill and charity. So may God bless all the Muslims and the people of England to come together in this time of trial and tribulation, and to really make it the extraordinary place that it is historically. Even though I'm mostly Irish, I have a great love for the British tradition of Wilberforce and Hannah More and many others. It's a great nation, and it's caused a lot of trouble, but it's also brought a lot of good to the world. So thank all of you.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf Hanson. It's been such an honour for us to have you here, and we particularly appreciate you giving up your time at such an inconvenient hour on your side of the pond. But I know from my own constituents' excitement about you being part of our big iftar that you know, we've been very lucky to have you, and I think it's been particularly powerful to hear you put your words in the context of our own deep roots of faith here in Europe. And faith, hope, charity, I think, is something that all of us can draw deep inspiration from. And it's been a real privilege and blessing to hear you. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. We're now going to, before I introduce Baroness Saeed Avasi, I'm delighted to bring back Amina Sultani. I mentioned in her introduction that she's a nasheed artist, and I'm looking forward to hearing her perform now. So over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to sing an Arabic qasida. قمرون قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل يا جميل وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي الله الله وكف المصطفى كالورد ينادي الله الله وعطرها يبقى إذا مست أيادي الله الله وعم نوالها كل العباد وعم نوالها كل العباد وعم نوالها كل العباد حبيب الله يا خير البراء يا قمرون قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون ولا ظل له بل كان نورا الله الله تنال الشمس منه والبدور الله الله ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا ولم يكن الهدى لولا ظهورا وكل الكون الكون أنار بنور طه قمرون قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل يا جميل وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل وجميل يا جميل وجميل سيدنا النبي يا جميل. And the second Arabic qasida. This means all the best of creation. Please look at me. خير البرية نظر إلي خير البرية نظر إلي ما أنت إلا يا طه كنز العطية ما أنت إلا يا طه كنز العطية يا بحر فاضل وتاج عدل يا بحر فاضل وتاج عدل جد لي بوصل يا حبيبي قبل المنية جد لي بوصل يا حبيبي قبل المنية حاشاك تغفل عنا وتبخل حاشاك تغفل عنا وتبخل يا خير مرسل يا حبيبي ارحم شاجيا يا خير مرسل يا حبيبي ارحم شاجيا رمضان يا سيد السادات جئتك قاصدا أرجو رضاك وأحتمي بحماك والله يا خير الخلائق إن لي قلبا مشوق لا يروم سواك حاشاك تغفل عنا وتبخل حاشاك تبخل حاشاك تغفل عنا وتبخل يا خير مرسل يا حبيبي ارحم شاجيا يا خير مرسل يا حبيبي ارحم شاجيا خير البرية نظر إلي خير البرية نظر إلي ما أنت إلا يا طه كنز العطية. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Armina. That was just beautiful, and I'm sure I speak for our virtual audience too. Now, one of the strange things about the online Big Iftar is that it is very much like presenting live television. You never know what's going to go wrong. Is the technology going to hold up? Are the guests going to arrive on time? Well, one person who very much knows what it's like to have the pressure of live performance is our next host, who will be known to so many of you as the original Northern powerhouse, Baroness Saida Varsi. Saida has been absolutely instrumental in the success of the all-party parliamentary group. She has been a fearless and tireless champion for Muslim communities right across the length and breadth of the United Kingdom, and a champion for human rights around the world, in government, and also on the red benches of the House of Lords. Some of you may have seen Saida's winning performance as part of the Stand Up to Cancer initiative. I did try and persuade Saida to do a comedy stand-up performance this evening, but unfortunately my attempts were unsuccessful. But Saida, it's great to see you, if virtually, and I'm delighted to hand over to you to introduce the next part of this evening's programme.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wes. Thank you for that really kind introduction. And actually, I think just in the corner over there, you can see the trophy that I got for doing stand-up. It's my pride and joy. I am delighted to be both part of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims, which is now running strong in its fourth year. We are a group which, as you've heard from Wes, has been co-chaired by both Wes Streeting and by Paul Bristow, Member of Parliament for Peterborough. And we've had a whole series of amazing reports. And if you're new to this group, I really hope you will check out some of the work that's already been done. But today, it is my real pleasure to introduce somebody whom I have admired for many, many years. He has got really the voice of angels. He has a huge, millions of followers around the world, of which I count myself to be one. But we're going to have a live Q&A with him. Mahir Zain is the person that I'm speaking about. But before I speak to Mahir, I would like to introduce one of his nasheeds, Ramadan.
Up high, you spread my wings and fly me to the sky. I feel so alive, it's like my soul thrives in your light. But how I wish you'd be here with me all year around. Ramadan, ليتك دوما قريب. Love is everywhere, so much peace fills up the air. Ramadan, month of the Quran, I feel it inside me, strengthening my iman. But how I wish you'd be here with me all year around. Ramadan, ليتك دوما قريب. just love the way you make me feel. Every time you come around, you breathe life into my soul, and I promise that I'll try throughout the year to keep your spirit alive. In my heart it never dies. Oh, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan ya Habib. Ramadan, Ramadan, ليتك دوما قريب. رمضان، رمضان، رمضان يا حبيب. رمضان، رمضان، ليتك دوما قريب. ليتك دوما قريب.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, Mahir.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
I'm well. Wow, wow, wow. Every time I listen to you, it makes my hair stand on edge. You know, mashallah, you've been blessed with the
Thank you
voice
so
of
much. Thank you so much.
angels.
You know what's funny? I haven't watched this video in ages, so I'm so happy to watch it again as well.
No, well, it's just perfect, isn't it, for this time of the year? But first of
Yeah,
all, look,
definitely.
Mahir, I wanted to say to you, thank you so much for joining us. I
Thank
know
you.
that you
Thank you for
have
having
a
me.
crazy schedule and you took
Thank you
time
so
out to
much.
join us today. So we're incredibly
Absolutely.
grateful for that.
No,
And
thank you.
I really
Thank you for having me.
I just really wanted to have a bit of a chat with you, really,
Mhm.
because I know that, look, you have millions of followers around the world. You have millions of fans
Alhamdulillah.
around the world. Alhamdulillah, I'm one of your fans. And,
Great. Thank
you
you.
know, I hope I'm not your oldest fan, but I'm definitely one of your fans. And all of us around the world, you know, millions and millions of us around the world are doing exactly the same thing at the moment, Ramadan. So what does Ramadan mean to you?
I mean, Ramadan is, one of the fifth pillar of Islam. So it's such an important, month and event in our lives, basically every year. And this is something that we wait for. When I say in my song, I say "Laytaka dawman qareeb," I wish you was always here. Wish you was always with us. Because you see, everyone is just turns to be so much better. And the good thing about Ramadan is that it revives that goodness inside of you, and that we need to always just remember to keep that goodness throughout the year. That's what the whole song is about. Also, that I wish you were always here because of the things that you bring out of us. So Ramadan is, there's so many things to talk about Ramadan. We have, this is the month of Quran. Like you feel so much peace. You feel like, I don't know. It's like so many things to just that the gathering, you see your family more. You see a lot of people that you haven't seen in a long time. We have the Taraweeh prayer, as you know, but unfortunately now it's Corona time. It's different, but usually we go to the Taraweeh prayers at night, every night, and you see faces you haven't seen in maybe even 1 year, like from last Taraweeh, for example. So it's such a beautiful month. I love it, and it's all about the feeling and spirit of Ramadan is amazing. You just have to, I think you have to live it to and experience it to understand it properly.
Yeah. And of course, it's a huge month of charity and philanthropy.
Absolutely.
And philanthropy is a big
Absolutely.
part of what you do. I mean, explain that feeling of what it means to be a philanthropist.
I mean, look, as an artist, I feel the responsibility, and I like to speak about it a lot. To hopefully, I can, inspire others to do the same who have a, like a famous profile, and that's why we always, give back, and somehow, and use my name and use my presence, like for example now in Ramadan, and usually we do that a lot in Ramadan, raising funds and stuff. I was the first couple of days I was in Lebanon for with Salam Charity, and we visited my city in Tripoli, which was very special. And also we visited the refugee camps, Syrian refugee camps over there as well. So it's just like being there and helping out, with my presence. If that can help, I'm gladly to help. And also it benefits myself, it grounds me and reminds me of how fortunate I am. And and I try to remind everyone else that no matter how bad you feel in your life, there's always someone who's feeling less good. So I mean, it's a lot of things that you can speak about Ramadan and how much you can do. And but alhamdulillah.
I spy that you've actually got a tracksuit on or gym clothes on. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, I just got out of my jiu-jitsu session. It's my beloved sport. So I took a break just to join this beautiful meeting. And so when we finish, inshallah, I'm gonna go back and get sweaty again.
How do you train during Ramadan? Because this is something that a lot of us have been talking about. It's
yes.
Ramadan is a physical, mental, spiritual detox. Talk about the physical side of it. How do you keep going?
I started actually working out in Ramadan maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago max. But even then, like 4 years ago, maybe I did it once or twice, like throughout Ramadan. But last year and this year, it's different. It's like, it's much easier than you think. I think it's all about like a mentality. You have a mentality. Like if you think, oh, Ramadan is coming, oh, I'm not gonna have food, I'm not gonna have water, I'm not gonna, oh no, of course I can. If I cannot have all of these, how can I go train?
Yeah.
So I think it's all about mentality, and it's much easier than people think. And the biggest tip that I can get to everyone is that, and I think most athletes, who do this in Ramadan, who work out in Ramadan, they always do it before Iftar, right?
Yeah.
So an hour and a half, whatever, how long you want to work out, and then you do it, and then you can drink and go eat. And usually when you do that, honestly, it's so healthy when you do it right before Iftar. You don't get hungry, you're just thirsty, so you just drink a lot of water and fill up your stomach, and you feel great about that.
I can completely agree with you on this, Mahir, because I actually I've started doing training this Ramadan.
Great.
And we train literally about an hour, and we start about 2 hours before Iftar. So we finish about half an hour before Iftar, and it's just the perfect time to come when it takes your mind
100%.
off watching the clock. So
100%. That's the worst 2 hours as well.
We call it our post-asr workout.
Great. But it's like, exactly what you said. Like for me now, I went 7 p.m. in Sweden. I went, and Iftar is almost like 10 p.m. Like 3 hours. So these 3 hours usually. Yes, and usually like these 2-3 hours, the last 2-3 hours are the hardest, because like, oh, it's done, I want to eat now, I'm tired, I want this. So when you go work out on that time flies like this, and you go back and drink and eat and everything,
Yeah, and it's amazing because once you start training, you find the energy, your body kind of sees
exactly 100%.
Oh no, it's been brilliant. I am now super impressed with the fact that your Iftar is 10 o'clock. We have Iftar at 8:30 in the UK.
No, sorry,
I
don't know if I said 10 o'clock, but it's 9 o'clock, almost 9.
Oh, 9
maybe
o'clock. Okay, that's fine.
Sorry, maybe I said it.
No, it's still longer than ours, so it's still impressive.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Ramadan and your training as well. I'm going to introduce another one of your nasheeds, but I want to ask you before you leave, which is your favorite? Do you have a favorite, an all-time favorite?
It's a very hard, question that I get a lot, but I mean, look, I think music is based on your mood, right? If you want to have like a calming song, you listen to whatever, like my song, Thank You Allah, or Anta Salam, or like, different song. If you want an upbeat, I have Medina, I have Barakallahu Lakuma. So it's different, but I mean, if you want to pick someone, I think it could be Ya Nabi Salam Alayka or Number One For Me. These songs are like based on the songs that I love to perform live, in the concerts. Those are two of my, favorites, basically. So, yeah, but I don't have any specific favorite, honestly.
Well, thank you so much. May your voice continue to
Thank
haunt
you.
us
Thank
and
you.
give us
Ameen.
goosebumps for years to come. And may your
Thank you so
success,
much.
inshallah, go from strength to strength. We are so, so proud
Ameen.
of you. And
Ameen.
thank you
you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
Thank you.
Take care. Salam.
There's something on my mind, on my mind. I just can't get it right, can't get it right. It doesn't go away, doesn't go away. Even though I try to ignore it, I just want peace of mind, I want peace of mind. I feel like breaking down time after time, and it keeps coming back, always coming back. Yeah, all my life, doubting was a part of me. Day and night, I fight my insecurities, asking why am I, who am I just want some peace of mind. And السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. Oh God, I need your peace, I need your peace. I still believe with hardship comes ease. Make the stress go away, go away. All my life, I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright, I'm sure that you look after me. You know what's inside of me. And the salam ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. All my life, I know you've been guiding me. You're the one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright, I'm sure that you'll look after me. You know what's inside of me. All my life, I know you've been blessing me. You're the only one who knows my destiny. I'll be alright, I'm sure that you'll look after me. You know what's inside of me. And the salam ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. يا نور الهلال أقبل تعال فالشوق طال والقلب سما نحو السماء مترنما. لا تنقضي
Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Maher Zain. I'm here in Tripoli, Lebanon, my city, with Salam Charity. Inshallah, this month of Ramadan, we're planning to help support 2,000 families in Tripoli and Lebanon. So for more information, click the link down below, inshallah, and support. Assalamu alaikum.
رمضان جانا وفرحنا بو بعد غيابه أهلا رمضان.
Unmute myself. That was a really wonderful part of this evening's programme, and we're really grateful to Maher Zain for giving up his time to join us. We're now going to hear from some of our parliamentarians. As we've mentioned this evening, the All-Party Parliamentary Group is a cross-party group of MPs in both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And our next speaker is Mark Logan, who is the Conservative Member of Parliament for Bolton North East. Mark.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you. I am Mark Logan, Member of Parliament for, as you can probably tell, I'm quite cold this evening in Bolton North East, and it's been great to see so many very thoughtful speakers this evening, including Amina Sultani, also our friend in California, Shaq Hamza Yusuf Hansen, and he also mentioned his Irish roots, which he shares that very much in common with me, and also Maher Zain as well. It's a great honour to join the All-Party Parliamentary Group for British Muslims as Vice Chair as we celebrate the big virtual Iftar. It's been heartening to join friends right across the UK, whilst I will be later on tucking into a delicious Iftar box from my local Shahi bakery on Blackburn Road in Crumpton Ward in Bolton North East. And whilst I confess that I'm not an expert on Islam, despite my very best efforts to pronounce the traditional greeting, I can take comfort in the Arab proverb, in every head there is some wisdom. I speak in awe and admiration of my Muslim friends in Bolton, the nation, and the world as you observe this holy month, a month that is dedicated to fasting, prayer, reflection, and community. And it, of course, saddens me that families and communities cannot meet as you traditionally would. In Bolton, throughout the pandemic, the Muslim community has pulled together to support people of all walks of life. And I've had great pleasure of visiting the IEC Bolton, the Masjid Nur ul Islam, the Jamia or New Medina Mosque, the Tabaya Mosque, and the Zachariah Mosque to see the great work and the adaptations they have made during the pandemic. From food drops to those struggling or isolating, to volunteers working with Bolton Council of Mosques to ensure that the wishes of those departed are observed with the greatest respect. These acts of giving, inherent kindness and social responsibility underpin one of the fundamental pillars of the Islamic faith, zakat. These acts of giving unite our communities, celebrating the very best that Bolton's diversity has to offer. And I cannot thank the Muslim community enough for their continued dedication and contributions to this town and its people. Ma salama, go in peace.
Thank you so much, Mark. And from Bolton North East to Bradford West, our next guest speaker is will be known to so many of you, a tireless, courageous campaigner. It's my good friend and Labour colleague, Naz Shah. Naz, good to see you.
Thank you, Wes, and assalamu alaikum everybody across the UK and beyond. It's lovely to be following from Bolton, Bradford, and keeping it north. I'll be on the right side of the Pennines and in Yorkshire. Lovely. What a pleasure it is to be here on the APPG Big Virtual Iftar. And I know it's not the same as Speaker's House like it normally is. This and it, but honestly, it really, really is worth it for this Ramadan to have this kind of insight and all of us getting together. It doesn't mean that Iftars in Ramadan won't be difficult, and they haven't been difficult. Last year was difficult. This year is difficult. And I know many people I know personally who will be during Iftar and during Sehri will be having an empty chair in that family household, and that will be difficult. But Ramadan for us as Muslims is about that sacrifice, and it's another Ramadan and Iftars in lockdown where we can't share that with our families and friends. But inshallah, we are vaccinating our way out of it. And it's lovely, it was really, really nice to hear Sayyidat interviewing Maher Zain and talking about that kind of selfishness, being able to give to the community and doing what we can for our communities, whether that's in Parliament, whether that's on the doorstep, on the grassroots level, all the way across the country. For Muslims, Ramadan is about reflection, remembrance, and patience. Fasting teaches our communities gratitude. It teaches us sacrifice. Those that can fast, to how to sacrifice basic amenities, and shows gratefulness. The fast teaches how many children and families, even today, in the age of new technology, are living with hunger. And in this context, I say yes, even water too. Because even today, 1 in 3 people, that's 2.2 billion around the world, don't have access to clean water. And what fasting in Ramadan does is connect the world together in feeling, understanding, and giving. When we talk about giving, I know how giving Muslim communities are throughout this month of Ramadan, and not just through Ramadan, we've seen it throughout COVID in my constituency in Bradford West. I witnessed the spirit of giving from Muslim communities throughout the pandemic, how they came to support communities most in need, and they really did become the 4th emergency service. Really proud of the report that the All-Party Parliamentary Group did last year. So if you haven't seen that, please do see that. And can I just put my thanks on record to not just the residents of Bradford West, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, who have stepped up during, not just through Ramadan, but throughout the year. And in particularly, I'm doing my Ramadan challenge for the first time, a Ramadan thing with raising funding for asylum seekers and refugees with the Bradford Foundation Trust. And there's many others, from counsellors to volunteers, food banks, who have really, really stepped up, and I'd be taking all evening if I was to name them. But thank you to all those people, and thank you to the Secretariat of your party parliamentary group, namely Mobeen, for doing all the work behind the scenes to get us to be able to have this big virtual iftar today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naz. Next, I'm absolutely delighted that we have a special message recorded for us by the leader of the opposition and leader of the Labour Party, my boss, the Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer MP, the Labour MP for Holborn and St Pancras.
I'm sending my warmest wishes to everyone at tonight's Iftar. I'm sorry I'm not able to join you, but I want to give a special thanks to the APPG on British Muslims for the brilliant work that you do to highlight issues affecting British Muslims and celebrate their achievements. Your work on the definition of Islamophobia has been exemplary. As leader of the Labour Party, I am utterly committed to eradicating Islamophobia from my party and from society. And I want to particularly note your recent report on the devastating impact of COVID on Muslim communities. After this awful year, there is now finally light at the end of the tunnel. And I want to thank Muslim communities who've contributed so much in the fight against COVID. From key workers to countless volunteers and community leaders in mosques and community centres across the country. You've given up your time and opened your doors, supporting the delivery of the vaccine and looking out for the most vulnerable. Your efforts have saved lives and kept the country going. Just as Muslims have been at the heart of the response to the pandemic, I know that Muslims will be at the heart of the recovery. And the recovery must tackle the inequalities and injustices that COVID has brutally exposed. Working together, we can create a fairer country. Ramadan Mubarak, I hope you have a reflective and uplifting month.
I think
forgive me for a second, the slight technical hit there for a second. But what a wonderful event we had, and it makes me incredibly proud to be the co-chair of this all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims. As I said at the start of this event, I've only very recently become the co-chair, and it's my great privilege now to introduce some parliamentarians that have much longer experience than myself in the all-party parliamentary group. As Wes said at the start, this is a cross-party parliamentary group. So first of all, I'd like to welcome Afzal Khan MP. He is the Member of Parliament for Manchester Gorton.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and good evening and assalamu alaikum everyone. I know we're halfway through, but let me still say Ramadan Mubarak to you, and I hope you and your family are making most of this opportunity to make most of a blessed month of Ramadan. It has been difficult. I would have loved for us to be having a proper iftar where we can actually enjoy the food as well, but at least this is the benefit of the technology that we can still connect in some ways to enjoy this Ramadan iftar. I want to take the opportunity to thank Mobeen and the team for the wonderful program they have put together, and I do hope that you've been enjoying it. Certainly have been enjoying this. You know, the COVID-19 has been really difficult. It's been testing. It has shown so much inequalities in our society, but by working together, you know, we can make that difference. One of the things that I've seen is how the communities have come together to help one another. I represent Manchester Gorton, a beautiful city, where again we've seen how the Muslim community actually has been at the forefront of caring for others. And that in a way is at the heart of Ramadan as well, that about caring for others, you having that empathy for those, you know, when you spend all day not having any food, but then being able to understand those who are struggling, what they may be going through as well. So we saw this amazing organization, the APPG, did an excellent report which looked across the whole country at the Muslim community's contribution, and we saw so many projects who did an amazing job here in Manchester. The British Muslim Heritage Centre, they did an excellent job helping with the homeless people. Al-Qadriya Masjid, again, you know, they've provided over 64,000 hot meals for the people. And every day they're providing the food as well, which people need, not only the hot food, but the dry food as well. So you see there's so many different organizations about the work they've done. So I want to say thank you to all those organizations as well for the wonderful work that they have been doing. May I say then, have a wonderful rest of the Ramadan as well. Make most of it, because we must improve ourselves, improve and strengthen our families, and of course give more back to the society to make it better. So wishing you Eid Mubarak as well, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Afzal. Growing up in Peterborough, different communities live together, so engaging with different communities was something that always came natural to me when I became a Member of Parliament. But I'm always learning, and it gives me an immense pleasure to actually introduce to you now someone that I've learned a great deal from since I became a Member of Parliament, about how to engage with different communities in my city. That's my really very good friend, Steve Baker, the MP for Wickham.
Assalamu alaikum, and Paul, thanks very much for that very kind introduction. I can assure everybody that I've been learning from you too, so thank you for being so kind. It's a real privilege and pleasure to be here tonight at this iftar. I already feel I've learned so much, and both Maya and Amina have really inspired me with their music and with their art, and you know, some of those sentiments of Maya's would have been very welcome and appreciated in my church, and that really reminded me how much we have in common when we all seek after the one true God. So I'm very, very pleased and proud to be here tonight. I'm very glad that Mubeen's put in all the effort to trial this new technology with us and to make this possible. And I'm also very pleased to be an officer of the APPG, and that we've been able to agree these reports on a cross-party basis. It's sometimes difficult, but there's always goodwill to come together and to represent British Muslims across the whole country in all of our seats. What I particularly want to do is take this moment to reflect on the year that we've had. I think Islam has a great deal to teach us all in this month of Ramadan, in the way that people come together as communities, and as has been explained, to sacrifice, to pause, to reflect, and to take this time for spiritual renewal. Because my goodness, what a year it's been. So many of my friends, so many of my Muslim friends have lost family at this time, and I know they'll be reflecting, as somebody said earlier, on the empty seat at the table, as mothers, fathers, brothers and sisters perhaps are missing. But this is a time of renewal. We are coming out of this awful crisis. Thank God the vaccination programme is working. It's breaking the link between cases and hospitalisations and deaths. So I'd appeal to anyone watching this broadcast, please do have the vaccination. I'm really delighted it's working. It's the key, perhaps by a gift of God, the key for all of us to get back to having our lives, our freedoms and our families in safety. So I want to say thank you again to everybody who's been involved with putting this event on. I'm really thrilled that in Wycombe, British Muslims have come together and served the community through a number of forums. I want to put a big shout out to High Wycombe Mutual Aid. One of my British Muslim friends was involved in founding it. It's been absolutely instrumental right across Wycombe in helping people to come together and look after one another. So many organisations serving one another in community, and so often with British Muslims at their absolute heart. So Ramadan Kareem, may you have a blessed Ramadan. Thank you very much indeed for putting on this event and for joining us online.
Thank you very much indeed, Steve, for that very welcome message. We've now got a video message from another campaigning MP, someone who's made a real big mark since he became a Member of Parliament. That's Tan Desi, the Member of Parliament for Slough.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be joining you all today for the virtual iftar for the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims. It's a real pity that we cannot do this in person as in previous years, to dwell upon what has happened in the previous year and to discuss the achievements of the APPG. I want to commend the incredible work of all of the officers, Mubin and everybody that is involved in the APPG on British Muslims. They have been linking up, and me included as a vice chair, we've been linking up with all of the various organisations, the British Muslim organisations within the UK, and we have tried our level best to be your voice in Parliament, to be getting those issues across to parliamentarians across both houses. And I know that for many of us it has been a very difficult year for ethnic minority communities, including Muslims. Many people have lost loved ones because the pandemic has had a disproportionately greater impact on minority communities. But as we gather for Ramadan, we need to reflect on what has happened in the past year, but also to share with one another the stories of giving and the coming together of the community. Just as in the Sikh faith, there is the institution of Langar, of the free community kitchen. It has been amazing to see the Muslim community coming together and providing for the more vulnerable and the needy within our communities. In Slough, for example, many mosques and other voluntary organisations have done an incredible job to provide for the most vulnerable within our community. So please keep up the great work, and I look forward to joining you all in person, fingers crossed, hopefully next year. And Ramadan Mubarak, everyone.
It's great to hear from my colleague Tan there, who's done a great deal of work, not just for Muslim communities in Slough, but being a really powerful advocate for Muslim communities right across the UK through the all-party parliamentary group. He's also been doing a great job to champion lots of interfaith work and as you've heard from Steve's contribution and others. That's also a really important part of how we work as an APPG, standing up for freedom of religious belief and expression, which is something we have to remain vigilant about, both in this country but also right across the world, where religious communities, Muslim communities, other faith groups too often come under attack. As well as being here with my hat on as the co-chair of the all-party parliamentary group, I'm also very proud to be the Labour MP for Ilford North, which is on the London-Essex border. For those of you who know the London Underground tube map, it's most of the red Hainault loop on the central line, and it is a significant multi-faith community with a large and growing Muslim community. And I'm really proud that so many of the reports that we've done through the APPG, whether it was our work on coming up with a definition, a working definition to tackle Islamophobia, or our work looking at the charitable work of Muslim communities, whether in our report on A Very Merry Muslim Christmas, looking specifically at what Muslim communities do in the lead up to the Christmas period, or our work on faith as a fourth emergency service, and our most recent report looking at the impact of COVID-19 on Muslim communities. I always see the work of my local Muslim community reflected in there. It may not have escaped your notice that we're now 1 week away from a set of elections right across every part of Great Britain. And normally during elections, the sight of a member of parliament from another party, and indeed a minister, if you're in opposition, coming to your constituency before an election is the sort of thing that normally sets hairs running. But in my case, I was really proud to see the vaccines minister, Nadeem Zahawi, visit my constituency just last week to recognise in particular the work of our Muslim Gardens of Peace in hosting the vaccine rollout. I was so proud that they were recognised in that way by a minister, even if he's from a different party and even if there are elections on, because it's so typical of the work that the Gardens of Peace does in my constituency. In the earlier part of the pandemic, when hospitals were overwhelmed with the virus and scientists were still grappling to understand the nature of the virus, the nature of the threat, and how to produce a cure, the Gardens of Peace in Hainault, in my constituency, really stepped up to support families who unfortunately experienced bereavement and were struggling with funeral costs. And whether it's the Gardens of Peace and their response to the pandemic and their role in the vaccine rollout, or the great many mosques and Muslim community centres in my constituency, and the work that they do throughout the year in charitable work, helping the homeless, feeding the hungry, helping to tackle some of the biggest social, economic challenges in our country. Whether it's the work of some of our great Muslim councillors who have positions of responsibility and leadership in my borough on things like tackling crime and antisocial behaviour, and whether it's the work that the Muslim community in Ilford North did, welcoming us with open arms to help us formulate our definition of Islamophobia. The contribution of Muslims in my constituency is really significant, politically, culturally, economically, and thinking about the spirit of Ramadan, the immense giving, the selfless giving, the acts of kindness and generosity towards others. It is truly inspiring. And I find that throughout the holy month of Ramadan, this is a time for reflection on the part of all of us, particularly those of us in positions of leadership and responsibility, to think about the challenges facing our society and the work that we can do together to bring about a fairer, more just society at home and justice internationally too. Now, we've still got lots of work to do. I'm very proud of the work that the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims has done since it was created, both celebrating the great work of Muslim communities across the UK, but also highlighting particularly to government that there is so much to do, particularly on tackling Islamophobia and hate crime and discrimination directed against Muslims. There's still so much more to do. But thanks to your support and your engagement and your encouragement, we are making inroads and will continue to work hard on your behalf. So it's just wonderful to have everyone here this evening. Now I'm going to bring back in our co-chair, Paul Bristow, who, as he mentioned earlier, still a relatively new MP. Has come in. I mean, look, when you get elected to Parliament, it is like a whirlwind. You don't know whether you're coming or going. You barely, don't know where the nearest loos are, let alone how to go and vote in a division. And yet, for MPs like Paul, who were elected at the last general election, they'd barely been in Parliament for 5 minutes trying to find their way around when the pandemic hit. So, Paul, I'm really interested to hear from you. I mean, you've had so many pressures on you as a brand new MP. What made you decide to take on this responsibility of co-chairing the APPG, and why is its work important to you as an MP and to your community in Peterborough?
Well, thank you very much indeed, Wes. And you are right. It has been a baptism of fire, and I think one of the first issues that I got involved in as the Member of Parliament for Peterborough was with faith communities in my city about burial when the COVID pandemic struck, and we all worked together, I think cross-party, to make sure that rules were in place which allowed for the burial of those people who'd sadly lost their lives. And it was that campaigning work to begin with that I think really kind of left a mark on me. Look, you can't grow up in a city like Peterborough without understanding Islam and understanding the contribution played by British Muslims to our city. And but I also found myself that despite the fact that you have a great many Muslims as your neighbours, your friends, your co-workers, I felt that I didn't really understand enough about what Ramadan meant to them and what so many of my constituents undertake each and every year. I knew it was a time for extra worship, a time for charity, self-reflection, forgiveness, and of course a time for family. But I didn't really understand the fast and fasting. So last year, I wanted to do more of this, and so I fasted for a week last year during Ramadan just to understand what so many of my constituents undertake. I learned a great deal about Islam, a great deal about goodwill, a great deal about community, and about charity, and about those who are hungry and thirsty far too often throughout the year and across the world. But I also learned a great deal about myself as well. And it was such a fulfilling experience that, again, I'm doing it this year, but we're doing it a little bit differently. I'm doing it also to raise money for two fantastic Peterborough Muslim charities. We're doing it for Unite for Humanity and the Children of Adam. And both of these charities do fantastic work in Peterborough, looking after vulnerable families, those who require support. But they also do a great deal of work internationally as well, and reflect the fine meaning of Ramadan and this time of year. Peterborough is a melting pot of different cultures, different backgrounds, different communities. We've got an estimated 20,000 Muslim population in not just in my constituency, but stretching across two constituencies. I think the vast majority do live in my constituency. And we all came together, I always say, as one city during the COVID-19 pandemic. We fed those who were hungry, those rough sleepers we housed, we supported those who were shielding, those who were vulnerable. And it really was, although we came together as one city, a significant contribution was, of course, the Muslim community, those who were business leaders, faith leaders, who owned restaurants and takeaways. They did all this sort of wonderful work, and it was really inspiring to see how they went the extra mile. And I found myself being taken to all sorts of different parts of the city, applauding and congratulating those who were doing such valuable work. And it really was probably, well, it is, there's no doubt about it, the best thing I've done in my short time as a Member of Parliament. And it also did introduce me to more about Islam and why so many people felt the need to help. And I can't thank the Muslim community enough for the contribution that they made to Peterborough during this difficult time. We've got 5 main mosques in Peterborough, and we've also got the Joint Mosque Council and the Muslim Council of Peterborough. And when I went to individuals and representatives of the Muslim community in my city and asked for their help with a message about the vaccine rollout and a message about the vaccine program, not one councillor, not one faith leader, not one community leader said no. Everyone came together to really put forward that crucial message that the vaccine is our way out of this ghastly pandemic, which has taken too many people from us before their time. I've had friends from the Muslim community who are no longer with us because of COVID-19, and it's been a truly difficult time. And as someone, I think it was said several times now, that place around the dinner table, that missing space, is something that will live with many of my constituents and myself as well. But this is a positive time, and I'm determined to do what I can as the co-chair of the all-party parliamentary group of Muslims, as humbling as that is, to do what I can to demonstrate the great contribution that the Muslim community plays, not just to my city in Peterborough, but to this country overall. It makes me immensely proud to have taken on this role. They always say I do too much as a member of parliament because you'll end up doing, or be interested in too many things because you'll end up achieving nothing. But I really do want to specialise in what I can do to bring communities together and demonstrate the strength, the valuable contribution of the Muslim community to Peterborough and beyond. Ramadan.
Thanks so much, Paul, for that insight into your journey and to the way in which you have been, in a very first-hand way, fasting through Ramadan, sort of trying to bring home the sort of powerful message of Ramadan as someone who isn't Muslim. And we're so glad to have you on board with the APPG. Now, I hope, this is the bit where you get nervous about technology, I hope we'll now be able to bring in all of our colleagues onto the platform. I can see them coming. Saida there, Steve, Mark, Axel, and Naz, and no, not Tam. Maybe Tam. No, who knows? But I wanted to start. We'll have a conversation before Saida comes in to wrap up the event, and then we will have the call to prayer. But let me just start by asking our Muslim colleagues on the platform. How have you found Ramadan this year? What has it really meant for you this year? And by the way, I'm not going to start by asking you, have you been able to drink water and all of the other cliche questions that people like me ask people like you during Ramadan. But how have you found it?
Well, let me start. I mean, I've had an amazing Ramadan because, most of the time, when we're fasting, and in previous years, it's been, I've been down in Westminster, it's been really intense, especially during government times, you've got meetings back to back. And I never really felt that I could appreciate and embrace the kind of spirituality of Ramadan. So for me, actually being in kind of semi-lockdown, being in Yorkshire, being with the family, has just meant that I've been able to kind of run the rhythm of my day with the rhythm of kind of opening the fast, closing the fast, prayers. So it's actually been probably one of the best Ramadans I've had for a very, very long time. And I've also taken it, as I was saying to Mahir Zain when I was speaking to him, I also set myself a task of gymming every single day during Ramadan. So I gym between 6 and 7 and then kind of come back and then get ready for the Iftar. So kind of spiritually, physically, mentally, I'm just feeling great. But we're into week 3. Usually by now I'm doing the zombie walk. I'm like, oh god, I can't go. When is this going to come to an end? I really should be admitting all of that, but that's what I'm normally like. But this year I'm just really full of beans and just feel like I've got loads of kind of energy. And I think we've had a really difficult year, but weirdly, just the fact that we've all been forced to stop and think and live our life, think about how we live our lives, has for me certainly been positive for Ramzan.
Naz, how about you? I remember particularly 2 years ago how challenging that was.
So I'm in the kitchen and we've got my kids are around. I'm not going to put them on the screen and embarrass them, but we're preparing for Iftar and we're doing jacket potatoes today. And it's just that kind of, there is that silver lining to it, isn't there? That when you're at home, you can make your prayer on time. You can do all of those things, which when you're running in and out of Parliament or doing your day job, it's not. You don't have that. You don't have that opportunity as much to trying to grab in your prayers. So I think from a spiritual perspective, I'd like to say that I've really been enjoyed that side of it. What I've missed, I'm going to be honest with you, even last Iftar, as much as it's quieter, Iftar is a really big thing in families, going to visit other people, going to visit other families, going to restaurants, doing all of that stuff. And we've missed all of that. We really have, not able to go somewhere apart from that internal family bubble with the sister's house. That's the kind of thing I've missed. I'm not quite as down, got to the gym. It's something on my to-do list. I'll probably get there next year.
And I think Afzal's internet connection is struggling to sort of hold up there, but I don't know if we can get him back. But I did want to acknowledge, because we've all been talking about the impact of COVID on families' lives, and I know how important Afzal's faith is, and how much of a real leader he's been in Parliament since his election for his local Muslim communities and for Muslim communities across the UK. But I think I can speak for all of us on the panel. We have been deeply moved by the courage and strength he has shown, talking about his own very painful loss during COVID, and speaking up on behalf of bereaved families. And I don't think he's able to come in at this stage because of the internet connections. But I did want to just say that we're all thinking of Afzal and absolutely in awe of his strength and courage. Now, I'm just watching the clock and conscious that lots of you have been fasting and will want to break your fast as soon as you're able to. So, Saida, why don't I hand over to you to wrap things up?
Yeah, thank you very much, Wes. I think I just want to say thank you to all of my colleagues for taking part in this their big virtual iftar. I want to thank our amazing guests that we've had on today, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, who was so spiritual as always, Mahir Zain, which for me was obviously a great kind of personal moment to be able to speak to him and to have him join us and to hear his voice. Amina's amazing voice that's started the whole thing off for us, and it was so inspirational to hear a female reciter, because so often in these events they're male reciters, and she did it so beautifully as well. And so a special thank you to Amina for doing that. And I'm really pleased to say that as we approach the opening of the iftar, I hand back to Amina, I think, to do a short prayer before we end.
Yep. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا، ولك الحمد على كل حال. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إني لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.